Big reports this afternoon suggest that Newcastle United are trying to hijack West Ham United's bid for Rennes centre-back Nayef Aguerd. Now let's start with what we know about Aguerd. We know he's in London. He arrived in London yesterday after the international period with Morocco ahead of his medical with West Ham United. We know West Ham have agreed terms with Rennes, around about 25 million plus add-ons, which would take the deal over 30 million if all clauses were met. We can assume, I think it's fair to say, we can assume personal terms between West Ham and Aguerd have been agreed, or at worst, very close to being agreed, hence the medical. Now the medical is expected to take place today, continuing into tomorrow, and if all goes well, Aguerd would be a West Ham United player by the end of the week, and hopefully by Friday afternoon we would have an official announcement that West Ham have got their first major summer signing, and it would be Nayef Aguerd of Rennes for 25 million. But reports today suggest that Newcastle United are trying to pinch him from the Hammers at the 11th hour. Now this might be really bad news, it might be nothing to worry about, it could be anything in between, but we're going to discuss that in this video. But we're going to start with Newcastle United actually, because there's one of three things here. One, it's completely made up. Two, Newcastle are bluffing. Or three, Newcastle are genuinely serious contenders and they want to sign Nayef Aguerd. Now obviously the first two are fine for West Ham. The last one, we could be in a bit of trouble here. But there's the second one, in regards to Newcastle bluffing. Because what do we know about Newcastle? We know that they want Sven Botman, the Lille centre-back. They tried to get him in January and they couldn't. Lille didn't want to sell him. The asking price was too high. They couldn't agree terms with Lille. And then time ran out essentially and they ended up getting Dan Burn. They've gone back in for him already this summer, but progress seems a bit slow in negotiations between Newcastle and Lille, because the reports are that Newcastle, they're a bit wary of clubs exploiting how much money they've got, which I think is understandable. But when clubs bump the price up because Newcastle come knocking, it means that some players that they're targeting will go from sort of good value to, well, that's not really worth it, that price is too much for that player. And Newcastle they're trying to be disciplined with their money, which is to some extent quite impressive actually, given how much they've got of it. So this could be a game of bluff. Is this Newcastle saying to Lille, hello, we're over here trying to buy another centre-back, we've got alternatives, so if you don't start negotiating with us and give us Sven Botman or agree a deal so we can have Sven Botman, we're going to pursue other targets. It could be a game of bluff. Hopefully it is. Or it could be that they've given up on Sven Botman. Maybe they want both. But Newcastle do genuinely want Nayef Aguerd of Rennes. Now if that's the case, then we've got a bit of a Luis Diaz situation on our hands here, haven't we? Because back in January, obviously all season, Liverpool were interested in Luis Diaz, keeping an eye on him. Then in January, Tottenham went in for him. Tottenham started negotiating with Porto. Spurs did negotiate with Porto. They had a deal agreed. And then Liverpool said, thanks for that Spurs, we'll have him. We are superior to you. We can lure him here, but thanks for doing all the hard work. We will just simply match what you've matched. Porto will accept it. We will get our man. That's what we could be seeing here. We could be seeing West Ham do all the hard work, do all the negotiating, and then Newcastle come along and say, hey, hi Rennes, we'll give you what West Ham are offering, because then they don't have that exploitation of funds from Rennes towards Newcastle United. So we could be seeing that circumstances on our hands. Now, I'll do the Moyes part in a second. What is important to mention here is that West Ham still remain confident of signing Nayef Aguerd. The reports are that West Ham are not as confident as they were yesterday, but that's a key phrase, not as confident, not confident. So it could be that they're 80% confident, but yesterday they were 90% confident of getting this deal over the line. I think it's quite far gone as well. The player is literally in London for a medical with West Ham. That's quite advanced stages. Now obviously we've seen deals plenty times in the past in the Premier League, even at West Ham United, where things do get this advanced and it still doesn't go through. So anything can happen in football and all that. So there is still a chance that he could change his mind and go to Newcastle if the interest is genuine. But this is where you have to factor in David Moyes. Now this is why I really want Nayef Aguerd. I had never heard of Nayef Aguerd 3 weeks ago. I've watched Morocco and the African nations. I didn't notice Aguerd whatsoever. I have watched him play because the games he featured in I had watched. I didn't notice him. So if I can count on one hand how often I've seen Aguerd, haven't noticed him once. But the reason I really want Aguerd is not because of Aguerd the player. is because it's David Moyes' #1 summer transfer target. And if this doesn't go through, if we do not sign him and he ends up at Newcastle, I will be furious, almost on behalf of David Moyes, but because it's David Moyes' #1 target, I will be gutted and angry that we've missed out on him. It's a bit different. You guys know I've got a love for Danny Ings. I still do have a love for Danny Ings. But when he left Liverpool, I really wanted him at West Ham. He didn't come. He went to Southampton. We were never in for him. But when he left Liverpool, I was disappointed because we didn't get Danny Ings. This is different. I would be disappointed because we didn't get who David Moyes wants to sign. It's not the player, it's what it stands for, and it's who the manager wants. Because out of every single player that we're going after this summer, this is the one Moyes wants. Every position we need, every number of players that we need. So if we need 7 players this summer, out of every single player that we're considering for those 7 places in the team, this is the #1 player David Moyes has picked out. We need to get him. It is vital that we get Nayef Aguerd over the line and he becomes a West Ham United player. Because if not, that's bad. That is bad news for Moyes, and it's bad news for West Ham United as well, actually. Because I wouldn't say it's a disaster. There's other centre-backs out there that we can go and get. But it would certainly be a massive setback and a massive kick in the gut, really, for West Ham's, I guess, summer transfer strategy. It's Areola and Aguerd seem like the 2 targets they want to get in first and foremost before they move on to other positions. We need to get this done. Now, because he's David Moyes' #1 target, I will confess, I'm quite confident that he will still be a West Ham United player. I just think there's too much going on so far. Like I said, there is that element that someone can come and grab him at the last minute. Of course there is. But in a weird way, what gives me that little bit of confidence that I need to be comfortable is David Moyes. Because when David Moyes wants a player, he wants a player. And when David Moyes is unsure on a player, he's unsure on a player. Now, it's actually something, when we miss out on players, it's something I actually wish Moyes was a bit more of a liar, essentially. There's 2 examples. First one, I remember mentioning it on a video a few weeks ago. I read a report literally a few weeks ago from Tony Cruz about David Moyes when Moyes was manager at Manchester United and he wanted Cruz to come to Old Trafford. So he flew out, he took his kids with him, his kids interacted with Tony's kids, they spoke a lot, and then basically Tony Cruz wanted to go to Man United to play for David Moyes. Of course, the lure of Man United was there as well, but Moyes schmoozed him essentially, and he ended up wanting to go and play for David Moyes. Obviously, the transfer didn't happen, but Tony Cruz has spoken very highly about how Moyes put in a lot of effort to get him, and he knew a lot about him. So when he spoke to him, Moyes knew a lot about Tony Cruz and his life and stuff, and that impressed him. So if Moyes wants Nayef Aguerd as his #1 target, I expect Nayef Aguerd to feel like David Moyes' #1 target. The other example is Tomori. Remember when we were after him? He was available on loan from Chelsea. He was late on in the transfer window. It might have even been transfer deadline day. And he was getting linked to West Ham on loan. Basically, the reason he didn't come is because Tomori asked David Moyes for reassurance over playing time, because the idea was he goes out on loan from Chelsea to play football, so he wanted Moyes to confirm he would get minutes at West Ham. Moyes refused to give him it. Moyes refused to reassure Tomori that he would get minutes at West Ham, so he didn't come. He ended up going to AC Milan, and the rest is history. It looks like a bit of an error on West Ham's part, but at the time, Moyes refused to basically lie to Tomori, and that's where, as a fan, I'm like, come on, Dave, just tell a white lie, get them to sign on the dotted line, and when they rock up at Rush Green, say, "Hey, son, now you're here, you're going to have to work really hard to get into this team." "Oh, I thought you said I'd get minutes, Gaffer." "Oh, you will, once you've worked really hard to get into the team." I almost wish Moyes would just tell a few white lies to get players over the line a little bit. But my point is, this is where we see the positive side of that, which is his honest character and his straight talking, I guess. So, like I said, if Aguerd is David Moyes' #1 target, I expect Aguerd to feel like David Moyes' #1 target. And that's got to count for something. It has to count for something. That while Tomori never got reassurances over playing time, Aguerd will have those reassurances from David Moyes to get him to sign on the dotted line. But there is a big but here. If this goes wrong, if we do not get Aguerd and he ends up at Newcastle or a other club, there will be big question marks over the last fortnight, because this deal has been rumbling on for a while now. And there's been 2 sets of reports that kind of contradict each other, but they can also go hand in hand if you want. So set 1 was that West Ham were haggling over the payment structure to Rennes from Nayef Aguerd. Now that's quite believable, isn't it? It's not something we haven't seen before. All we have to do is look at when we tried to get Saeed Benrahma in on a permanent transfer, the palaver that we made out of that, end up loaning him stuff, changing the terms at the very last minute. Once Benrahma was ready to become a West Ham player, once Benrahma wanted to come to West Ham, we started playing around with the deal in a frustrating Brentford. So it's not something we haven't seen before. The other reports are that it was because he was playing for Morocco. We wanted to wait until the international football was finished in case he picked up an injury. Then we would do the medical after the internationals to make sure that we had a clean bill of health and that he would become a West Ham United player. Now I, perhaps naively, believed the second part. I actually do believe that we've been waiting for the international period to end. Otherwise, I find it really convenient that right up until the last day of the internationals, we couldn't agree anything with Rennes, and suddenly on that day we agreed something, and Aguerd was on the plane immediately to London. That's a very, very big coincidence, isn't it, that we got the deal done at the exact time that the internationals was coming to an end as well. So I do believe the latter. However, if Newcastle do come in and get him in that 2 weeks, while necessarily between us and Rennes and us and Aguerd nothing's really changed, certainly Newcastle been chasing Sven Botman and not getting anywhere. So in that period that Newcastle have been failing to get their number one target, we've been leaving this deal on the back burner, sat there. David Sillen has been on the sun lounger with his fiancée in the pool. Cigar, I don't know if he had a cigar, he might have had a cigar, having a cigar, thinking I'm chilled out. Aguerd sorted, number one target for Moyes in the bank, thank you very much. And meanwhile Newcastle been struggling, then it gets to the point where Sullivan puts down his invisible cigar and thinks, right, let's get this deal sorted. Newcastle go, actually, we'll have a little go as well because we're fed up with dealing with Leo, we're not getting anywhere. So it's one of them, we'll have to wait and see. Where I sit at the minute, I am quietly confident that we will see him as a West Ham United player by, maybe not by the end of the week, but a West Ham United player. But I would be lying if I said I was no longer nervous. I haven't been nervous. I've been quite confident that this deal was going to happen for the last couple of weeks because I believed the international thing. And then when he arrived in London yesterday, it felt like a formality that it was inevitable he was going to be a West Ham United player. I'll be honest, today I hadn't recorded a video yet because I thought there's a small chance we might announce Aguerd or Areola today. So if that happens, that's my video for today sorted. So I've been waiting for a deal to happen essentially. I'm not that confident anymore. Let's put it this way, I'm going to have a video for tomorrow sorted by lunchtime. I'm not waiting for an announcement tomorrow. But I'm quietly confident because for the reasons I've given, because I believe the international thing, I believe that we've secured a deal with Rennes. And I believe that David Moyes does really want Aguerd, and I'm hoping that that's enough. If he is David Moyes' number one target, which I don't see any reason not to believe, then we have to sign Aguerd. We simply have to sign him. Not signing him is a failure, and we just can't do that because what it does, it's a domino effect, isn't it? Aguerd is the first domino in our summer transfer window strategy, and if he falls, the rest of them fall as well. We need to get this one over the line so that Moyes, Newman and Cigar Sullivan can move on to domino number 2, domino number 3 and get them in as well. Aguerd is the first player. It's crucial we get him signed up. Hopefully all this reports today are rubbish. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be doing an announcement video. My lunchtime video will be getting deleted. Fingers crossed, but like I said, I'm getting a bit nervous now. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please drop a like on it. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'll catch you tomorrow with some kind of video. Might be a lunchtime one.